Have you ever rewritten the same paragraph 10 times, convinced it still isn't good enough? Or spent hours on a project, only to feel like it's never truly finished? You're not alone.
Welcome to Youth Matter, the podcast where we tackle the psychological challenges young people face today. I'm Adara, your host, and let's be real, a recovering perfectionist.
And I'm Lily, a psychology master's student who has spent years researching perfectionism and working with students who struggle with it. Today, we're talking about perfectionism versus progress and why chasing flawlessness might actually be holding you back.
Lily, I know perfectionism is a huge issue for students. Why do you think it's become such a struggle for so many of us?
Adara, a big reason is the pressure to always be at our best. Social media makes it look like everyone else has it all figured out, while we're stuck agonizing over every detail.
That resonates, Lily. In college, I once spent 14 hours editing a 5-page paper. I got an A, but I was completely exhausted for days. Meanwhile, my roommate spent 3 hours on hers, got an A-, and was out enjoying her life.
That's the trap, Adara. Perfectionism tricks you into believing that more effort always equals better results. But in reality, it often just means more stress and burnout.
Exactly, Lily. And it's not just academics. Perfectionism shows up everywhere. I avoided posting on social media because I could never get the perfect caption or photo.
That's such a common struggle, Adara. I worked with a student who spent hours rewriting their class notes, making them look perfect. But by the time exams came around, they hadn't actually studied, they'd just recopied their notes over and over.
Wow, Lily, that reminds me of when I used to measure my worth by how much time I spent working. Like, if I wasn't exhausted, I felt like I wasn't doing enough.
Yes, Adara. Psychologists call this effortism, valuing struggle over actual outcomes. But research shows that productivity drops after about 4 or 5 hours of intense focus. So working longer doesn't mean working smarter.
That brings up a great listener question, Lily. How do I know if I'm just striving for excellence or trapped in perfectionism?
That's such an important distinction, Adara. Healthy striving for excellence comes from wanting to grow. Perfectionism comes from fear of failing, of disappointing others, of not being enough. Ask yourself, if no one were judging this, would I still be this stressed about it?
That's powerful, Lily. I'd add that excellence allows for mistakes. Perfectionism treats them like disasters. I used to feel physically sick if I got anything less than an A.
Absolutely, Adara. And another key difference? Excellence has boundaries. You can strive for success and take care of your well-being. Perfectionism demands everything.
Our next listener question is from Taylor, 22, Lily. I know my perfectionism is unhealthy, but it's helped me get good grades and opportunities. I'm afraid if I let it go, I'll become lazy.
Oh, Taylor, I hear this all the time. This is the false dichotomy trap, believing the only options are perfectionism or laziness. But there's a huge middle ground where most successful people operate.
Yes, Lily. I used to think if I wasn't obsessing over details, I'd be mediocre. But when I let go of perfectionism, I actually got more done. 3 solid projects instead of 1 perfect one.
And studies back that up, Adara. Research shows perfectionism actually leads to lower productivity over time. It's like running a marathon with ankle weights you might finish, but you're making it so much harder on yourself.
Okay, Lily, let's talk about real solutions. What's your top strategy for moving from perfectionism to progress?
Exposure therapy, Adara. Start by intentionally submitting something imperfect in a low-stakes situation. Send an email without triple-checking. Post a picture without a filter.
I love that, Lily. My go-to strategy? Time limits. When I wrote my thesis, I gave myself 45 minutes per section. When the timer went off, I had to move on.
Yes. Another great trick is the good enough rule, Adara. Ask yourself, what level of effort gets me 80% of the quality with only 20% of the stress? That's often the sweet spot.
And changing self-talk is huge, Lily. Instead of saying, this isn't good enough yet, try, this is a draft, and drafts are supposed to be messy.
That's so important, Adara. Research shows that self-compassion actually increases motivation and performance, while self-criticism decreases them.
My final tip, Lily, measure progress differently. Instead of perfection, celebrate consistency. I used to only count perfect days. Now, I just celebrate showing up, whether it's for studying, exercise, or creative work.
I tell my clients to keep a done list instead of just a to-do list, Adara. At the end of the day, write down everything you completed, even small steps. It shifts your focus from what's not perfect to what's actually finished.
So, if you take one thing away from today's episode, let it be this. Perfectionism promises security, but it delivers stagnation. Progress might be messy, but it's the only growth path.
Yes! I always tell my clients, Adara, perfectionism is a 20-foot wall between you and your goals. Progress is the willingness to climb it messily, one step at a time.
Thanks for tuning in to Youth Matter, Lily. If you struggle with perfectionism, try one small imperfect action today, then let us know how it felt.
Next week, we're diving into Digital Boundary Show to have a healthy relationship with technology without completely disconnecting. Don't miss it.